on News 5 Live. Fresh from victory as the UDP leader, John Saldivar is accused in the Utah court. Jacob Kingston testifies that Lev Derman gave Saldivar stacks of cash. Within 24 hours, Patrick Faber resigns. Murder in the West, an American woman was stabbed to death inside her apartment in San Ignacio. Devastating reef destruction at Lighthouse Reef. And in the wake of yet another concern over the travel history of visitors, government issues a travel ban for travelers having recently visited China. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Signing up for Smart's broadband
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live from Monday, February 10th. I am Marlene Cuellar. It is a fast-moving news day with numerous developments with serious implications. But we start with Sunday, where John Saldivar emerged as the favorite to lead the United Democratic Party. Of the 569 votes cast, Saldivar got 342 votes, beating Patrick Faber, who got 227 votes. That's on Sunday at the Civic Center in Belize City. But in Salt Lake City, in Utah court this morning, damning revelations were made about the next leader of the UDP, to the effect that bundles of cash were given to him by accused fraudster Lev Derman. The convention proceeded, and without a doubt, Saldivar enjoyed the party apparatus behind him, and the massive convention appeared superbly funded as delegates and supporters were bussed in from all over the country. Before 4 o'clock, Saldivar had garnered the majority of votes to win. Here is News 5's Isani Cayetano with the convention results.
I, John Birchman Saldivar,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that as the leader of the as the United Democratic Party leader,
that as the United Democratic Party leader,
I will work diligently
to
bring victory to our United Democratic Party.
victory to our United Democratic Party.
I pledge to be true and faithful
I pledge to be true and faithful
to the principles and ideals of the party.
to the principles and ideals of the party.
I will uphold the party's constitution
I will uphold the party's constitution
and will work hard to the very best of my judgment and ability.
and will work hard to the very best of my judgment and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
The ascension of Belmopan-era Representative John Saldivar within the hierarchy of the United Democratic Party to become leader-elect has been a long-fought battle. At a time when there is no shortage of controversy surrounding his reputation, the Minister of National Security has emerged victorious, besting his political opponent to whom he has fallen twice on prior occasions. On this, his third attempt at reaching the highest rung on that proverbial ladder, Saldivar has enjoyed the most support from the upper echelon, as well as the rank and file of the UDP.
It's a collective one, and collectively we've sought and decided to show our 110 support by casting our vote for John Saldivar and Teen Saldivar.
That slate, comprised of Hugo Pat and Beverly Williams for the first deputy leader and second deputy leader respectively, was endorsed by as many as 22 sitting-era representatives and standard bearers, as well as their delegates.
From day one, what we were looking for is an individual who would put Lake Independence on the map. I kept saying that the days of stepping on the constituents' dignity is over. The days of handout is over. We need a leader who, when he speaks, he sees Lake Independence in the midst of gaining any kind of opportunity that is available to uplift my people within that constituency. And that is the reason why I choose to support Team Saldivar.
The Belize City Centre, venue for Sunday's National Party Convention, saw the convergence of UDP faithfuls from all corners of the country. They were bussed in on dozens of charters and were greeted with the celebratory atmosphere of a family united. The reality, however, was that the leadership battle was a duel to the bitter end, where only one candidate would be named successor. That individual, when all was said and done, is John Saldivar.
Thank you very much. I want to start off by thanking God. Primeramente quiero empezar dando las gracias a Dios por haber brindado este momento. I want to also call on my colleague, the Honorable Patrick Faber, to please come and join me at the podium. My colleague and friend, Patrick Faber, together we will bring victory for our United Democratic Party. Thank you, brother. Good fight. Thank you. A lot has been done for our country. We must shine our light so that the country can see that we are the best option to govern this country. We are going to continue the work, the transformation of this beautiful country of ours. Juntos venceremos. Together we shall win. Se comunil Toruhank. Thank you all very much. May God bless each and every one of you.
That shining light, a beacon of high moral and ethical standards, is characteristic of any political leader from the perspective of good governance.
In terms of a candidate's vision to lead the party and lead the country forward, that's very important to me. One of the things that's also very important to me is, of course, in terms of publicly, there has been hits to the party in relation to corruption and dealing with very significant issues. That is something that looms very large over my consideration, because I think that the person who leads the country and takes the country forward must be somebody who is above reproach, must be somebody who can stand on credibility, stand on integrity, and say that this is the type of leadership, a leadership based on character.
Those distinct qualities are yet to manifest ahead of the upcoming general elections, notwithstanding serious allegations that have been made against Saldivar going into the convention. Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
Embattled area representative turned party leader-elect John Saldivar has artfully dodged the media in the weeks leading up to Sunday's convention by absenting himself from public events hosted by his ministry. With the Lev Derman scandal looming over his candidacy, Saldivar deflected the media at every turn, resorting instead to press releases on new developments concerning the allegations against him. When we caught up with him in our very first interview opportunity since he declared his candidacy for leadership back in November of last year, Saldivar was ecstatic about his victory. While we allowed the incoming party leader to briefly bask in his glory, we countered by asking him about those very scandals that continue to threaten his newfound post within the party.
Congratulations, sir. Let's begin by talking about how you're celebrating this victory.
Celebrating with my people, like I said earlier. Thank God for being such a wonderful God to me and to my team. Throughout all the tough times, He brought us through this one.
How difficult was it for you, considering everything that was looming over, or still continues to loom over your head?
Well, nothing that's worth having comes easy. And I knew that I was being tested. I knew that I was being put to the challenge. And I hope that the people of Belize see that I've passed that challenge.
Well, sir, there are still certain matters where your name is being called. How do you plan to deal with that going forward?
Well, first of all, the cloud that has been hanging over my head has been put there by those who have interpreted and misinterpreted things. I have not been at this point accused of anything. I've always said that I'm not guilty of any wrongdoing. I maintain that, and until anything else is proven otherwise, that is my position. And I'm glad that the people of Belize saw it that way, whilst the media may not have.
How difficult?
You've lost before, you finally won. Last time you lost, I said, 3 times and you're out. You kept on with it and now you've got the maximum prize. Emotionally, how does it feel?
It feels very good. It feels very good. I feel vindicated for all the other times that I was not able to make it. I think it's a signal to people, never give up. Always keep your eyes on the prize, know what you want to achieve. And because this is not just for me, this is for my people, for my colleagues, for my party, for my government, it is even better achievement for me.
When asked if he was anxious about the testimony of Jacob Kingston, whose sworn statement from the dock resumed today in the Utah courtroom, Saldivar essentially said that he was unfazed since nothing incriminating would come out as evidence against him. He also spoke about the healing process following the divisive convention.
I look towards every day with anxiety.
Utah.
No, not at all. I know that there's nothing that's going to come from that that's going to affect me in any negative way. I've always maintained my innocence.
How do you come together as a party?
Prime Minister has been talking about after reading the budget, but he and I will sit and discuss that.
Why did you push for Derman to become honorary?
I will discuss nothing more about that trial. I will discuss nothing more about that.
Talk to us about healing then.
Yes, that is what we can talk about. As you saw up there, the Honorable Patrick Farber and I are friends. We are going to continue to work together for our party. We believe we are the best option for this country. United, unified, we can defeat any party.
So will you strip him of his ministries if and when you become Prime Minister?
No more speculation. He is my very good friend. That's not in the cards at this time.
We will have more from the convention and the resignation of Patrick Farber as Deputy Prime Minister of the United Democratic Party coming up. But we go to Hipólito Novello, who is in Salt Lake City, where he has been embedded since last week inside the federal court. Less than 24 hours after his victory as the next leader of the UDP, John Saldivar's name was prominent today in court proceedings. The court did not session on Friday, but as the proceedings got underway this morning, Kingston, under oath, gave testimony of damning information. According to Kingston, leader-elect Saldivar received bundles of cash in April 2012 from Derman. An exhibit he presented is a photo of a vessel assigned to the Belize Coast Guard in which he and Derman were taken to southern Belize. Joining us live for an update is our reporter in Salt Lake City, Hipólito Novello. Hipólito, go ahead and share with us the latest.
Yes, John Saldivar's name was ringing here in the U.S. District Court in Salt Lake City, Utah. The now UDP leader-elect is being accused by Jacob Kingston, the key witness for the prosecution here in Utah, were taking thousands of dollars of cash from Lev Thurman, the fraudster, on prosecution here in the United States. Now, according to Kingston, they had traveled in April 2013 to see some projects here in Belize, and they met John Saldivar, who had been appointed in Minister of National Security in March of 2013, I believe. And according to Kingston, during one of those meetings, they were involving John Saldivar. He said he saw that Lev Thurman gave Saldivar money. He said it was in a few halves, and he said that it was a $10,000, a stack of cash that Lev Thurman gave the Honorable Minister John Saldivar. Kingston also mentioned that he wasn't sure, or he did not know what the monies were for. He did not know the business or negotiation between the two gentlemen on their trip here in Belize in April 2013.
So his specific testimony is saying, and I believe you reported that he was questioned, that he witnessed the handing over of the stack of cash.
Yes. Kingston said, and I quote him, "I was there when Levin gave him money," him meaning John Saldivar. He said that he gave them a few halves, packs of $10,000. And this took place apparently at Zubar Kazi House here in Belize. He said that he was invited to visit in Belize, and it was one of 5 visits that Jacob Kingston and Lev Thurman had taken to Belize between 2012 and 2015. The last visit they had to Belize was April of 2015, and that is confirmed with what John Saldivar had stated in his first press release in response to the scandal and allegation. He had mentioned in that first press release that he did meet Lev Thurman as a businessman in 2013, and his last interaction with Lev Thurman was in early 2015. And according to court records and Jacob Kingston Travelocity records, they traveled to Belize in April 2015, where they met John Saldivar once more.
Now, of the 5 visits that they made to Belize, were they specific about who they interacted with during those visits?
Yeah, so according to Kingston, he still has a few days to testify. The purpose of the visits, he was in terms of projects, in terms of that physical and online casino projects, his properties are bought in Belize. Lions Gaming was mentioned during his testimony. He did mention that the former PUP minister and former Minister of Finance, Ralph Fonseca, assisted in getting them the license for that online gaming company here in Belize. According to Kingston, he also mentioned that they bought property here in Belize, and that money was transferred to Ralph Fonseca to the tune of over $700,000 in terms of that property that he bought in Belize to house that online and physical casino.
Now, there was also a specific reference made of a visit to southern Belize, and you can provide that update to us. In fact, there was a photo presented in court as well.
According to Kingston, during their visits in Belize and when they met with the Honorable John Saldivar, he said that Mr. Saldivar invited them to take a boat trip to southern Belize. And pictures were shown in court, and the pictures showed a smiling Lev Thurman along with 2 unidentified military men. One of them was armed, and they took the trip to southern Belize. Also, they had dinner and they dined at a Placencia hotel during his visits in Belize. And those visits, Marlene, would normally be between 1 or 2 weeks. So the photograph, however, the defense objected to that being submitted because, according to the judge here in Salt Lake City, it wasn't properly submitted by the prosecution. So it's sort of like the photograph sprung up on the jury. Yeah. And so judge ordered the jury to have that struck out from the record and have any questions or information related to that specific photo showing Lev Derman in the Belizean boat, which Kingston described as a Navy gun boat,
Yes.
be removed from their consideration.
Yeah. Did you manage to see the photo? Are you able to recognize the military gear and identify what specific members of our defense force were in it?
Yeah, they had jumpsuits. I think it was navy blue jumpsuit. They didn't have a specific logo as many of our military uniform would have on the side. We can say there's only two military men. One was armed with a rifle. Each of them on either sides of Lev Derman, and he posing and smiling for the cameras as he took that trip down in southern Belize.
Now, Hipólito, you've been in court for over a week, and Kingston's testimony is pivotal, not just for the information we've been waiting for here in Belize to get some clarity, but also pivotal to the case in general. As Derman sits there and hears Kingston telling all this information, what is it like in the courtroom itself?
Whenever Kingston makes some really serious allegation against Lev Derman, my eye runs to Derman to see how he would react. And in certain instances where he is accusing Derman of taking or receiving tens of millions of dollars in cash and check from Washaki, the company that Kingston's in charge of, he shakes his head. He shakes his head whenever can't answer a question from the prosecution, he laughs. When he's content whenever the prosecution doesn't get that satisfying answer they would want from Kingston. But on the other hand, Kingston delivers in terms of setting out the timeline and what really happened in this billion-dollar tax fraud here in the US. Derman shakes his head. He looks at his attorney, tells his attorney something, complains about what Kingston is saying, and so forth. So that is the interaction I'm seeing now between Lev Derman and Kingston in court.
So in summary, Hipólito, if I'm to look back on the information you've shared with us so far, in terms of monetary transactions that have been mentioned in court so far, there has been the mention of the stacks of cash, the $10,000 stacks, that Kingston said he witnessed being handed over to Lev Derman, and also a transaction of over $700,000 for purchase of property for the gambling site that they were hoping to develop. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate, Marlene. Again, just to reiterate, Kingston said he saw Lev Derman give the Honorable John Saldivar stacks of cash, a few halves, and he said that it was $10,000 wads of cash he gave Minister Saldivar during their 2013 meeting here in Belize. And he also testified in terms of setting up that casino here in Belize and buying that property and paying over $700,000 for that property to be set up here, for that business to be set up here in Belize.
Yes, and in fact, wasn't it the fact that the federal prosecutor specifically asked if he had witnessed the handing over of money?
I'm sorry, Marlene, can you please repeat that?
That the federal prosecutor in the case specifically asked if he witnessed the handing over of money from Lev Derman to John Saldivar.
Yes. They asked about the money, they asked where did he get this money. Kingston wasn't where, or from where exactly that Lev Derman got this money to hand over to Minister John Saldivar. In terms of the purpose of that money, Kingston said he is not sure, did not know the business between the two men. He said he's not sure what Lev Derman was getting out of it or what John Saldivar was getting out of it. But what he pointed out, or what the prosecution pointed out, is that this was in line of Lev Derman's spending and his association to high-ranking government official. And this is what cemented, I believe, Kingston's idea that indeed Lev Derman had his boys or his umbrella organization looking after him in terms of getting close to the Minister of National Security, getting close to police officers here in the US, the sheriff here in the US, and even to mayors in Belize.
Now, Hipólito, a lot of this information came out in the morning. Is there anything that came out later on this afternoon, or have they moved on to other topics at this point? Seems we may have lost our connection. Hipólito, are you still there? All right, we have lost that connection.
Yeah.
Do we have you? All right, it seems we have lost the connection. However,
yeah, you're breaking up.
So we'll revisit that conversation and that specific topic later in our newscast or tomorrow as well. But the summary is there. The information that came out in court today is that Kingston testified, Jacob Kingston testified in Utah court today that he witnessed Lev Derman handing over stacks of cash, stacks in approximately $10,000 to John Saldivar. And that is the main points coming out of the court today. Thank you very much to Hipólito there in Salt Lake City. And so the dark cloud that had been hanging over Sunday's convention because of Kingston's testimony, how this revelation will affect the UDP is not known, as the UDP goes into gear to maneuver the way forward. But for sure, the Prime Minister is likely to have the last word as to when the new leader is to be sworn in. News 5 attempted to get a reaction from the Prime Minister on Kingston's damning information, but we got none up to news time. So we revisit a bite from Prime Minister Barrow given at his last press conference when he was asked about the court proceedings in Utah.
Other question. Did anyone in this room receive funds from Mr. Lev by way of an electronic transfer? And the answer came back no. If it turns out that indeed there is evidence to show that a member or two members of my cabinet received funds from Mr. Lev, they will be held to pay. I'm not even going to, I want there to be no misunderstanding. I'm not even going to get into the fact that, well, even if somebody is shown to have received, let's say, the $25,000 a month, but there is no allegation that the monies were given to the minister in return for that it constituted, in that Latin term now made famous by the one and only President Trump, in return for a quid pro quo. That would not and could not let the minister off the hook. Might be that the minister could make a hell of a case, saying, where is the proof that this was other than a campaign contribution from someone that I knew who supported me? And there are no laws in Belize, much to my chagrin, that regulate campaign finance contributions. But I wouldn't need to get into that sort of an argument with the minister, would I? Because even if that could be shown to be true, you lied to me and you lied to the cabinet in saying that you did not receive any money. QED. That in itself is a basis for me to say, sir, madam, you cannot stay in any cabinet that I lead.
And then, by this afternoon, shortly after 3 o'clock, Patrick Faber took to his social media account where he posted on his Facebook page a letter of resignation. Faber stepped down as Deputy Prime Minister in the wake of Sunday's crushing defeat at the National Party convention. In his letter to Prime Minister Barrow, Faber says, quote, "Realizing that the Deputy Prime Minister serves at your pleasure and not necessarily because of holding the position of First Deputy Leader of the party, I still see this as an opportunity for you to make a fresh appointment," unquote. While it was expected that Faber would subsequently demit office, his resignation came less than a day after the convention. On Tuesday morning, Hugo Pat will take the oath as the new Deputy Prime Minister. Pat won the post by a huge margin, defeating Minister of State Tracy Panton. When we spoke with Faber prior to the elections, Faber was optimistic and confident. Following the loss, he maintained that he will work with the new executive of the United Democratic Party.
What happens if the tide changes and goes in favor of your opponent?
Well, I know that will happen today. But as I've said, no matter the outcome, we are going to unite. This party is not going to break up, and we're going to have a big, strong show of support today for the UDP.
I have always maintained that I am a UDP politician all the way. I told you that the Honorable John Saldivar and I are friends. So much time I not tell you now. And I told you that I have nowhere to go from this party. I am 100% with my colleagues, 100% in support of the Honorable John Saldivar. Expect my full cooperation and love for all of my colleagues. Thank you, guys. I do want to thank all those persons who supported me, who believed in me, and who, of course, continue to support the United Democratic Party. I ask all those who support me to now embrace the new leadership of the UDP so that we can unite and organize this party to defeat the true enemy of the UDP, that is the People's United Party.
Coming up, the Prime Minister's parting shots at Sunday's convention as he readies to demit office. And in crime news, an American woman is murdered in San Ignacio. With the election of a new leader, Prime Minister Dean Barrow will be demitting office. As to when, a date is not known. In his final address before a massive gathering of UDP supporters at the Civic, Barrow spoke about his lengthy career as a politician. His vocation spans almost 40 years since his foray into electoral politics in 1983. He also took the opportunity to do some chest beating as he outlined a series of consecutive victories at the polls for the United Democratic Party. While his keynote address was not as spirited as past speeches he's delivered, Prime Minister Barrow was in fine fettle.
This, after all, is the last time I shall be addressing a UDP National Convention. Naturally, that is a cause for some personal regret. I have been involved with this party at the electoral level since 1983. And now I bring to a close a life in politics, a life in the UDP that has spanned almost 4 decades. On the other hand, it has been the greatest privilege of my existence to have served the United Democratic Party and Belize. And to have been leader for 2 decades was a joy beyond compare. I therefore thank all of you for the complete support that you have given me throughout. Your loyalty has been constant in good times and in bad, and we experienced both. It was a rough 10 years in opposition, but the good far outweighed the bad, and the memory of our trials in the wilderness was all but eliminated by our subsequent amazing successes, by our political dominance thereafter that proved to be unmatched in the history of independent Belize. Stop and think about it for a moment. Since 2003, when we won that Cayo South by-election, the United Democratic Party has remained unbeaten at any level in any election in Belize. And the high point of that record is, of course, the unprecedented achievement of becoming the only consecutive 3-term government in the modern political era.
While bidding farewell to the legions of UDP supporters in the bleachers, the outgoing party leader reminded them that they are in good hands with his successor. He also took the time to speak on the reunification of the party as it prepares for the upcoming general elections.
And so I leave you in the sure and certain conviction that all will be well, gloriously well, with our party and our nation. After today, we shall come back together. We shall heal the divisions. We shall bind up the wounds. We owe that to our people. We owe that to our country, because we must win a 4th term. And we must do so given the fact that the UDP remains the only option for Belize. With all our faults, we are a good party, a great party. And the PUP remains a bad party, a very bad party. No one will ever be able to say to the UDP what its own leader has said to the PUP. Bring back the millions that you stole from the people of Belize. Bring back all that you robbed and pillaged and plundered. So today, we may fight hard. We may bitterly contest each other. But after all is said and done, we will kiss and make up, as Sid Juliet and Yellow Man don't start. That is the tradition of the UDP. That is the genetics of the UDP. That is the DNA of the UDP. We are a party that time and again has overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. For such a party, it will be light work to recapture the love, the solidarity, and the oneness that have always characterized our United Democratic Party.
An American woman was brutally killed in San Ignacio, Cayo over the weekend. Javon Moody, a man she has been dating for a few months, has been arrested and charged for her murder. Reports are that Ariana Jones was fatally stabbed in the early hours of Saturday morning. She and Moody were reportedly socializing at her home when something went wrong and she was killed. Neighbors say that they heard screams at around 1:30 that morning. Police were notified of the incident some 4 hours later when someone called the police station to report a body inside the house. And then about a half an hour later, the accused showed up to give the same report. News 5 went west today to find out more about this latest murder. Here's that story.
31-year-old American national Ariana Jones was stabbed to death inside her apartment in the Bully Tree Road area in San Ignacio. A man she was dating, 23-year-old Javon Moody, has been arrested and charged for her murder. ACP Joseph Mivett says that sometime around 5:30 on Saturday morning, cops got a call about a body inside a house. Shortly after, around 6 that morning, Javon Moody visited the police station to make the same report. And in less than 24 hours, Moody was detained and later charged for the killing.
And as a result, San Ignacio police accompanied him to the area, where upon arrival they discovered the body of Ariana Iris Jones, 31 years, American national, inside the apartment with apparent stab wounds and motionless. At some point during the investigation, we had gathered sufficient evidence in order to institute charges against him for the crime.
Police say that they don't have a motive for this murder. Information is that Jones and Moody were socializing when screams were heard coming from inside her apartment around 1:30 that Saturday morning. Police say they were drinking.
What we do know, though, from the investigation is that sometime after 1:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, some screams were heard coming from the apartment. Shortly thereafter, the vehicle belonging to the deceased was heard driving away. I believe a knife was recovered at the scene, but we would have to get that whatever was found on the knife tested to see whether or not that was indeed the weapon used. We are still trying to seek out whether or not there were any previous reports in relation to domestic violence.
Sir, and at this time we don't know the circumstances surrounding maybe that altercation or what led to that stabbing. Do we know what the nature of that maybe argument was?
No, we do not at this point in time, other than also to say that we believe at some point that alcohol surfaced as a factor during the investigation as well.
Darielle Grouch is one of Jones's best friends. She's still trying to process news of the brutal murder. She says that Jones and Moody have only been dating for a few months. Grouch says that she's been trying to figure out why Jones was killed because she was not a violent person.
She is such a welcoming person that you never expected somebody to turn on her like that. A physical violent, you never expect it to be physical violence on her like that. She would have never fought with anybody, that's the truth.
Now that you've heard that her boyfriend is a person who has been arrested for her murder, I mean, how do you make sense of this?
Okay, well, since I tell you I know her that well, I know that this guy and her were not seeing each other for very long. It was not a public relationship. People don't know him as yet, but she did tell her mother. I figure that probably he asked her for something, maybe money, maybe to use the car, maybe she told her that she didn't want to be with him anymore, and maybe that's what happened. Like I'm saying, this is speculation, but because she's not a fighter,
Was it a violent, I don't know, dating or a relationship that they had?
No, but one of her friends that she spoke to in the States more recently than me said that she had mentioned something about him being mentally unstable, and especially when alcohol was involved.
Although Moody has been arrested and charged for this latest killing, Grouch tells us that it's no consolation for the young, productive life that was taken. Her friend's murder brings into focus the issue of domestic violence.
How many years would warrant Ariana's 31-year-old vital body looking to have a child soon? She was supposed to bake cakes for my wedding. She was supposed to sew dresses for us. How can you put a price on that? Sending him to jail is what? But he cannot be around other women. I hope it's not a situation where I see him dating some other girls sometime soon. He's a violent person. He needs to be convicted, for doing this to a woman, This was a close quarters type of domestic violence type of situation. We need this to stop. If we don't start putting these men away proper amount of years for these things, they will feel like this is an easy thing for you to be doing.
Ariana Jones has been back and forth between Belize and the USA in the past 8 years or so. She loved Belize and was working to make this country her permanent home. Her close friends described her as friendly, noisy, and kind to everyone she talked to.
I always remember Ariana being inviting to everybody, that she never discriminated anybody. That is something amazing and special I learned from her. She gave the same respect to the little rum guys around the corner as the top people around everywhere. Ariana read a lot of Belizean books. I have her Becca Lam right now. She knew our national anthem. She had a lot to say about politics in Belize. She grew only native plants to Belize in her yards. She brought her friends from the States and showed them a good time all the time, taking me along as well to Pine Ridge.
Jones was married to Belizean Lloyden Bejarano for several years. Bejarano was shot and killed in San Ignacio in April 2019. At the time of the killing, they were separated. That murder remains unsolved. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
A 12-year-old boy was shot on Friday night in Belize City. Police say that the minor was inside his home with family members when a man walked up and fired shots inside the house just before midnight. The boy was shot in the leg and is in a stable condition in the hospital. Senior Superintendent Gilberto Romero tells us more.
Police responded to the KHMH after receiving a report of a shooting incident. Upon their arrival at the KHMH, they found a minor with a gunshot injury to the leg. Investigation revealed that this minor was in a house in the Belama area when two male persons came to the house, and at some point shots were fired and he received the gunshot injury. He is admitted at the KHMH in a stable condition. No one is detained at this time for this shooting.
Sir, the men, they went into the home and fired shots. Is there any, have you guys established maybe a motive for why they went into that house?
We have not established a motive as yet. Investigators are presently conducting an investigation.
So do we know who may have been the target of that shooting? I would imagine it wasn't that minor.
We are not sure who was the target now.
How many persons were inside, sir? Are you able to say?
He was there with other family members.
There was another shooting in the city. Fortunately, no one was injured, but a dog was killed. It happened around 10:15 on Saturday night, and police were called out to Fabres Road in Belize City, where shots were fired at a house. Here's more from the police.
Upon the arrival, they met Marcelina Reyes, 52 years, who reported that while at home she heard several gunshots. She came out and made checks thereafter and found bullet holes on her house and noticed that her dog was dead after receiving one of the gunshots.
Had she been threatened before?
Not that we know of now.
And was she the target?
Again, the shots were fired toward the house.
A fatal accident in the south claimed 2 lives on Saturday morning just after 6. Police say that Jose Cal, the driver of the pickup truck, may have fallen asleep, which caused him to lose control of the truck, which overturned. The 2 passengers in the pan of the truck, Pashal Teul and Erlina Teul Cal, were thrown out upon impact. They suffered various degrees of injuries and died. Assistant Commissioner of Police Joseph Maivet tells us more.
Police were called to an area on the Southern Highway between miles 71 and 72, where they observed a green Ford Ranger pickup on its side on the highway, which seemingly was northbound, and they spoke to one Jose Cal, who was the driver, who was on the scene, and he reported to police that himself, along with several family members, including Pashal Teul, 48 years, of a Bella Vista address, along with Erlina Cal, who is the wife of Mr. Cal, were also traveling with him in the pan of the pickup. And somewhere between miles 71 and 72, he lost control of the pickup, which caused the vehicle to be tilted on its side, and as a result, in the process, those persons in the pan were flung from the vehicle, where Pashal Teul apparently died at the scene, while Miss Erlina Cal was transported to the Punta Gorda Town Community Hospital, where she died whilst undergoing treatment. Mr. Cal was detained pending this investigation. Statements were recorded and submitted to the office of the DPP for her direction, and in the process he was served with a notice of intended prosecution pending the outcome of the investigation.
After the break, a travel ban is imposed on travelers from China to Belize. A number of countries have imposed a travel ban, and over the weekend, Belize did the same, putting in place a travel ban for travelers who recently visited China. As you know, the death toll caused by the coronavirus has been growing as the virus continues to spread person to person. And on Saturday, a flight with Chinese nationals caused a stir. According to a release from government, given the recent situations with travel history that have been documented upon arrival at the Philip Goldson International Airport and other points of entry, both the Ministries of Health and Immigration are hereby directing that all travelers who have been in China within 14 days immediately prior to arrival in Belize be denied entry, unquote. The release ends by saying that this directive is an overall measure to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus to Belize. On Open Your Eyes this morning, internist Dr. Fernando Cuellar says that addressing the concern should be taken as a learning experience.
China's response to it has been, I think, commendable. Of course, you get conspiracy theories that they know the report, that they showed, blah, blah, blah. But you could see effort being made to contain it, so it doesn't. We don't wait till one year pass and then they say, you know what, this time a really bad virus, and then it kill the percentage of thousands and so forth. No? So I think anytime, this won't be the last. And this is one of the points I want to make today. This won't be the last. So as a country, we should learn from this. We should use this as and make Ministry of Health and government not catch feelings if anybody criticizes them, but use it as one exercise and not stop there. I say every 3 years we have one exercise, even though we don't have one epidemic on our pandemic.
Just like a state of readiness.
State of readiness, make sure that you show the Belizean people we're semi-prepared, we half prepared. We'll never be fully prepared because even the richest countries in the world can be fully prepared, but some level of readiness and show, not just say it, but show it. Listen, we got this warehouse with so much hazmat suits, we got so much ventilators, we don't know where we're putting our people, we don't know that they're going perhaps the BDF camp, and we don't know that they could set up a
isolation
big tent
area,
and then kind of thing, don't know in place. And you could see the confusion will happen over the weekend. Being nice, miscommunication,
misinformation though.
About who want to flag the people, if the immigration or the American Airlines or okay. But clearly it never gone smooth, so let's learn from it.
On Saturday, a News 5 team camped out outside the arrival section of the Philip Goldson International Airport after reports surfaced that a group of travelers from China arrived on board an international flight. During the time that our team was there, several passengers were seen wearing masks over their faces and others applying hand sanitizers. The Ministry of Health confirmed that screening was taking place in a group of 12 Chinese nationals. A team of doctors and public health officials were deployed to the airport and certified that persons disembarking the plane had no respiratory condition that would seem to be related to the flu. The group was then processed and allowed to enter the country. News 5 was able to get a comment from epidemiologist Dr. Russell Manzanero as the medical team exited the airport.
Dr. Manzanero, sir, you guys a team of health officials. You guys are here at the Philip Goldson International Airport. Talk to us about what's happening. What you can share with us at this time.
I believe the travel screening is what is being done at this point in regards to influenza surveillance. I guess particularly interested in the novel coronavirus situation. So what we've been doing, measures at ports of entry, and especially here at the international and either at border management, to get a complete understanding of where these individuals are coming from. I guess we really know that they are traveling everywhere, so it's not only through the U.S., so we really need to heighten our kind of surveillance and step up our game to see how we can see the individuals who are coming in. They may not necessarily be Chinese nationals, but they're any traveler who is coming from that area. So we're particularly interested in seeing where they are coming from and get that kind of information back to us. The purpose, of course, is to get a concern and see where we can follow up these individuals in the event that anything should come around. Fortunately, the ones that we've been screening are all asymptomatic. Nobody is coming in sick at the moment. The only cases that we did have concern that we had to go and do some screenings were those in the north. But we knew of those cases. We jumped on it. Samples were taken, and as we had mentioned, one was negative and the other was the seasonal flu. So for now, you see a lot of travelers at the moment. So what is being done is to look at that kind of information from the travelers coming in. So we're basically not, we're screening everybody. That's everybody, including crew members, everybody that's coming off the plane, to just ensure these travel kind of history that we need from them. And of course, if they have the screening history or the travel history, is to pull them aside and see, okay, let me see, do a little more in-depth interview. And we have nurses and staff here who are actually doing the physical screening, like temperature checks and all of that. So that is in place right now. So.
How do you ensure, sir, that these people who are being screened do not feel like they're being discriminated?
No, I think it's basically for all. I mean, the public has to know that travel is travel. Globalization and the movement of people is not only from that area. I mean, we have U.S. nationals, Canadian nationals, Belizeans, everybody is traveling. They are making connections in that part of the area as well. You have Taiwan, you have other areas that people are coming from that has ongoing transmission. So for us, we really need to see what kind of measures are in place. We do know that screenings are being done on that side and at exit screenings, but as well the U.S. and other places are doing their own screenings. For us, this is a third measure to ensure that kind of screening is being met.
Fire destroyed a home in St. Matthews Village over the weekend. Police say that a wooden home and all its contents, valued at a total of $20,000, were wiped out by a blaze just after 5 on Sunday evening. Fire officials are still investigating to determine the cause of the blaze. ACP Joseph Maivet tells us more about the fire.
Roaring Creek police were called to St. Matthews Village at the home of one Jose Ambelis, a Guatemalan national who reported to police that he received a telephone call shortly before 5 p.m. that his home was on fire. So he rushed home, where he observed his wooden house completely engulfed in flames. The fire department was unable to save any of his belongings, so both the home and his belongings were completely destroyed by fire. At the time of the fire, no one was at home at his residence. The cause of the fire at this point in time also have not yet been determined.
When we come back, an investigation is underway on a vessel that's anchored on the reef. News spread like wildfire on Sunday evening on social media as images surfaced of an anchor grounded near Long Key in the Lighthouse Reef Atoll. The area is known as one of the most popular dive sites because of the diverse marine life and the corals located there. While tours were underway, a yacht, which is not registered in Belize, did not lodge itself to any of the moorings pins in the area, but instead released its anchor on the aquarium. The devastating reef destruction at Lighthouse Reef has environmentalists up in arms because the images taken by one of the dive crews in the area show that the owner seemingly had no regard for the marine life and protocol for visitors in the area. The atoll is managed by the Belize Audubon Society, who was notified immediately of the incident. But by the time they got to the area, along with the personnel from the Belize Coast Guard, the vessel had already left. Executive Director Amanda Burgos shares the details.
Once we found out about the grounding, we saw the footage, we did proceed to the location accompanied by the Coast Guard, so it was a joint initiative. However, by the time we got out there, the vessel was already outside of the atoll. It had left the location already. Indications are that the vessel had already checked out from Sunday and that it was just a last stop on their visit. The exact reasoning, we can't reason as to what happened. However, we do want to assure people that the government agencies have been contacted and they will be doing an assessment. There were dive boats out on Sunday. The last dive of the day when you do a Lighthouse Reef, Blue Hole, Half Moon Cay Wall dive is the aquarium. It is a shallow dive. It is very famous for its abundance of marine biodiversity, lots of fish, lots of beautiful coral. That location has mooring pins, which is another point to flag. There is large vessels often anchor, but more down south of that location. Long Key is a large mangrove island. It is one of the 5 islands in the Lighthouse Reef Atoll, and it is a commerce spot in terms of wave actions and marine navigation. So there are mooring pins and there are anchoring locations, but farther south down from that exact location. From all indications we have, the information gotten to us is that we have the video from sometime around 4:30 to about 5. Different people, different agencies, including Belize Audubon, the Belize Coast Guard, Fisheries Department, and several other government agencies received the video footage. It was shared with everybody, and a series of calls and action went into place.
Today, we did a search on the location of the vessel. According to what we found, the Samadhi yacht, which was built back in 2006, is registered to the Cayman Islands. Just before news time tonight, the pleasure craft is located in the Gulf of Honduras. The overall length of the vessel is about 200 feet and its width is 35 feet, and its deadweight tonnage is 220 tons. News 5 has been told that the Department of Environment, with assistance from the Coast Guard, are tracking the vessel and have contacted their Honduran counterparts in an effort to intercept it. While the damage assessment will be done by the Department of Environment personnel. Earlier today, when we spoke with Executive Director Amanda Burgos, she says that they will assist with facilitating where they can.
There is a methodology. It is a standard methodology that has been developed that the DOE and, like I said, the fisheries and other agencies implement. You dive and you do a transit looking at the impact. It is a large yacht, so the anchor has to sustain a vessel of that size. If you all know that the breeze has been blowing here, we can only surmise that it was blowing equally as strong there. But yes, as the boat shifts, the chain will move. Estimations of a chain length anywhere from 100 to 75 feet of chain is what was dragged. But I would not like to speculate. I haven't seen the damage. I haven't seen the site. I don't know the exact length of time that the vessel was there. It's probably a few hours that it was at that site. The normal time of that dive is in the afternoon, and like I said, by between 5:30 and 6 the vessel was gone already.
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you about a workshop to strengthen cybercrime legislation in Belize. Cybercrime relates to offenses committed on the internet or on social media platforms on a number of issues. In the country at this time are representatives of a cybercrime program of the Council of Europe. The Council is assisting in the drafting of legislation in a matter of days, which will be aligned with the Budapest Convention to put an end to online crimes. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
We have crimes related to illegal access to computer system. We have crimes related to illegal interception of computer data. We have crimes related to computer-related forgery or computer-related fraud. We have crimes related to online child sexual exploitation. There is also the definition of crimes related to intellectual property violations. This is, let's say, the common set of definitions that all countries have. And then each country can also decide to add other articles that are not covered by the Budapest Convention.
Society has become reliant on technology to carry out business, for education, and to gain access to information. But there are those who exploit the system to commit egregious crimes, such as the exploitation of children and theft, among other things, using the dark net, so they cannot be traced. Through the Budapest Convention drafted in 2001, countries are harmonizing legislation on cybercrime and electronic evidence to stop these online criminals in their tracks. Today, in a first step to have Belize accede to the treaty, a 4-day workshop with stakeholders from various agencies is on the way at the Biltmore.
The Council of Europe is supporting the whole process, is supporting the first point, of course, the point of entry is the legislation. Once the legislation is in place, the Council of Europe has this program of capacity building that we are developing, that we have been developing, and that I am managing, which is called GLACY Plus, Global Action on Cybercrime. And this is related to building capacities of criminal justice authorities, so law enforcement, so police, magistrates, prosecutors, judges, on these very topics. And to do this, we also partnered with Interpol, who is deploying part of our program on our behalf. And we try to maximize the delivery of technical courses for law enforcement to deal with such topics as darknets or as virtual currencies, because this is what the criminals are now using to hide themselves in the darknet. Electronic evidence as the main issue. So how to retrieve electronic evidence and how to handle correctly electronic evidence so that it can be submitted to court and admitted to court and to trials. And in this, actually, this is very important also for, not just for cybercrimes, but also for those physical crimes where electronic evidence is involved.
While the request was made by Belize back in November of 2019, prior to then, the country has been working on a cybercrime legislation. The idea is to have the domestic legislation aligned with the Budapest Convention so that it is included in a network of countries where common rules and values are shared.
Cyberbullying have been one of the ones that the Special Envoy and a number of people were very concerned about, and we had seen it fit for us to try and get that portion of the legislation to Cabinet and to have that pass in a very short time frame. And if you all could recall, I think it was in the latter part of last year, we had moved forward with those kinds of initiatives, and Cabinet was able to approve a draft legislation that was presented to them. While we were doing that, we realized that there are other things going in the cyberspace, and we decided that we needed to come with a more comprehensive cybercrime legislation, and we had tasked our task force to put together some draft proposal to go to Cabinet.
Cybercrime is a cross-national threat by definition, so it's very important to have agreement at the international level and not just to draft a legislation that is valid for the national context.
64 countries have acceded to the international treaty. Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Up next, James Adderley with the weekend sporting statistics.
Good evening. I'm James Adderley. Welcome to Sports Monday. The Belize Volleyball Association presented the National Female Volleyball Championships featuring a whopping 11 teams in its 2020 edition on Saturday inside the UB Gymnasium at Capital City Belmopan. We go directly to the championship showdown featuring Simon Kwan Megastars battling SC Lady Jaguars as Ayana Musa launches the first serve. In this rally, Musa deals to Fatima Ramirez, who sets up Kimberly Spence for the well-placed drop. Both Tichelle Solis and Chantel Arnold of the Lady Jaguars cannot dig it out as SQ Megastars jump to a 3-zip lead. Chantel gets this chance to display some power with this smash. Neither Zazie McKenzie or Nelisa Ramirez can handle it. This magnificent dig-out by Megastars captain Sherika Burton to Ayana Musa produces a placement Lady Jaguars simply can't handle. Kimberly Spence launches the smash as the Stars continue to shine. This rally is simply entertaining. Sherika Burton serves. Mauricia Williams handles to Tanisha Encalada, who sets up Chantel Arnold for the power move. Burton is able to handle. Samani Karkamo helps to Kimberly Spence, who gets it over the net, but here comes Melissa Trejo to Tanisha Encalada for Chantel Arnold to lower the boom. Down 12-18, Coach Alan Sharp uses the timeout to steady Lady Jaguars, while Miss Lupita Kwan pulls Melissa Ramirez one side for an inside tip. SQ Megastars would come down with power after Chantel Arnold probes Zania Hall, who goes to Ayana Musa for the two-person connection that concludes with a monster hammer from Hall. Simon Kwan Megastars grabs set 1 in a 25-16 score. We're in game 2 when Musa goes to Kimberly Spence, who finds it humorous as her deft touch forces her opponent to the mat. Megastars continue to dominate. Ramirez to Musa, who goes to Zazie McKenzie, and the smash is a point. Arnold gets the ball over the net. Ramirez to Musa, Musa to Kimberly Spence, and the power punch is automatic. SQ Megastars take game 2, 25-18 to become the National Female Volleyball Champion 2020, and we say congratulations, you deserve it. In the battle for third place, SQ Stars was able to prevail over Junior Stars in straight sets, 25-15, 25-16, and we say good show that featured all of 11 teams in this competition. In the CS race, launched on Saturday, February 8th, from the Boom Cutoff to Hattieville and back, at the elite category, Nation Isagiri, he blew out the pack, forcing Brandon Katusin to second and Dwayne Wade into third. In the over 30 years category, Valan Sims took Tapanas. Alvan Gillett, he pulled up in the runner-up spot, while Wayne Maas rounds out the top 3. At the over 40 level, it was Dwayne Wade being number 1 with Kenny Gladden second and Ruta Ford Cunningham finishing third. At over 50, Barney Brown, yeah, he's number 1. Warren Cowie came in second. Ray Catus had to settle for third. In international table tennis play, Belize participated in Central American Table Tennis Championship from the 4th to the 8th of February. Mexico took 12 of the 14 gold medals available. Guatemala ended up with 2, while Belize's best showing came from Tay Parkinson, who became the only Belizean to reach the semifinals in his class at this particular tournament. We say keep it going, Tay. Finally, folks, in football news, we're off to the Marion Jones Stadium here in Belize City for the Belize District High School Football Finals, Game 1 featuring Ladyville Technical and Wesley College in the opener. Some 5 minutes into the action, Gian Ramclam of Wesley tries to find the far corner of the goal defended by Randy Escobar, but the ball veers outside the sticks. Ramclam, he comes back again to tackle this set piece, and we must say the left foot punch shakes the far upright with a bullet that no keeper could stop. Wesley College goes up 1-0 some 15 minutes in. Jahid Henry's corner kick provides Wesley College with a scoring opportunity, but the Ladyville defense hangs tough. The City team continues to press forward with Kadeem Bowen, whose right foot shot forces Escobar into a must-save dive. We're in second half action when this heel pass from Atlee Garnett finds Kendrick Garden, who cannot get any power on this shot to get Lady Villa onto the scoreboard. When Ahmad Patnett gets the better of Randy Escobar, Keaton Bowen comes off with a magnificent save. Wesley College would hold on to the 1-0 victory. Game 2 is set for this Monday. Stay tuned. The winner will take part in the National Secondary School Football Tournament, which will be staged right here at the Marion Jones Stadium this weekend. On the female side, SCA grabbed game 1 against Ladyville Tech in a 2-0 result. Hey folks, that's our show for today. We invite you back same time, same place next week. Ja over all. I'm James Adderley.
The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, good night.